Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance, Tommy Chrysan here with you on this Monday morning edition of Sports Shorts. The Monday after LSU breaks Tiger fans' hearts in the first half, but then all of a sudden looked like LSU was supposed to look against UCLA in the second half, and they pull out a 34-17 victory. Did not cover, by the way. And then the New Orleans Saints just flat broke the Saints' hearts on Sunday. Not in the first half. Saints Ellis fans were loving the Saints in the first half, especially the defense. They pitched a shutout in the second half, though, gave up 15 points and lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, who almost had twice the yardage of the Saints on Sunday. So the Saints now 2-1. LSU at home next week against South Alabama at 20.5 favorite against the Jaguars. Then they'll have an off week before the big showdown against Ole Miss. So the Tigers should have an easy one. Question is just whether they will cover or not against South Alabama this week. And then they're at home against Ole Miss for the New Orleans Saints. Who they got next, Tommy?
They're in Atlanta to play Todd McClure's Falcons.
That's right. The Dirty Birds, who lost last night to the Kansas City Chiefs. And Arthur Blank's big celebration, right? They retired Arthur Blank's jersey.
They put him in the Ring of Honor, where Todd is. Yeah,
put him in the Ring of Honor. Probably. And Arthur Blank, by the way, had a bunch of concession items that he gave away for free to folks. You know, I think everybody got a hot dog and a Coke and something else or whatever at the games. At the game yesterday. Maybe should have picked a game it's almost like picking homecoming, right? Pick a game that you got a really good chance of winning, or maybe even pick a game that you need a little boost with the fans. You know, you need an incentive. You know, hey, you're going to get free food and drink and da-da-da-da. Excuse me. Don't pick the game against the Kansas City Chiefs early in the year when you can sell that out no matter what your record is. I don't know if the marketing was genius on that.
Yeah, that might not have worked. And then, according to the reports, there were a lot of Kansas City fans in the house, a whole lot. You know, Arthur Blank, he bought the Falcons in 2002. He co-founded Home Depot, which we know the rest of that story. But yeah, you're right. I kind of like your angle there. That you could have picked a different game. Maybe you wanted it because it was Sunday Night Football and all eyes of the NFL on it. You know, a standalone game, if you will. That may have been part of it, but I guess the bottom line is maybe should have done it when they played the Panthers, huh? Although the Panthers won yesterday.
Yeah, Panthers won yesterday. The Bucks lost. So I mean, the Saints able to stay in first place in the division. Let's talk about LSU and all before we get to the Saints. And then, oh, by the way, Paul Skeens won again last night. Got his 11th victory for the Pirates. More importantly, he's probably got one more start before the season ends. His earned run average is 1.99. He's in the history of Major League Baseball. He's one of only two individuals to have an earned run average under 2 through 22 career starts. So his first 22 career starts. 150 years or whatever of MLB, only 2, and he's one of them. I mean, unbelievable what's going on and what he's doing. But I had 9 punch outs last night. The LSU, the sky was falling. It was 17 all at halftime against UCLA. Remember, the Tigers were anywhere from a 21 to 24.5 point favorite against UCLA. What was your takeaway in that? Well, when you saw the score 17 all at halftime.
Well, and where I was at, they had it on a screen, and I was halfway looking every now and then. And I know UCLA.
Tell the people where you were at on Saturday.
You really want me to do this again?
I do. I just can't get enough of it.
I was at my 8th grade class reunion at Rocky and Carlos and Chalmette. About 55 people were there, and that included some, significant others. It was good. It was from 3 to 6 Saturday. I saw 14, 15 people I really wanted to see and say hello to. But at 6, I was out the door and headed back to Baton Rouge. But I was glad I went. It was good. They had a TV on. I saw some LSU, UCLA kind of while talking and mingling around the room.
a couple questions about that. One, was the baked macaroni everything you thought it would be at Karaki?
It always is, and I ate some of that, and I had a little piece of a shrimp po' boy. So there we go.
Two, how many names do you remember from eighth grade? Do you remember them?
Well, they put a list out, okay, and there were name. I'll say this: there were names on the list. I never remember going to school with that person. Some guys, some girls, because
Right.
that was boy girl thing. When I went to high school, it was all boys at Holy Cross. But so there was some people I didn't know, and there was some people I would not have recognized if they didn't have a name tag on. But we all had name tags. In fact, I'm gonna show you and Derry my name tag next Saturday at radio because they
Love
had
it.
my eighth grade picture on it. Okay. But no, it was fun. It was good to see a lot of people, a couple of old friends I hadn't seen in a while. Had some nice visits, and but I don't know how this sounds, but as soon as it was over, I was ready to go. A
How,
couple of them went to another location. I'm like, I got to go back to Baton Rouge.
how many of the people that you graduated with in eighth grade that were at your reunion do you keep up with on the regular?
3 or 4.
Yeah,
And,
three or
and some of that's due to the world of Facebook, where you connected years ago or whatever. But there's probably 3 or 4 that I see from time to time at some event or another. And I know you'll appreciate this, Ryan, because I'm going to go there. There were 2 girls who are still very good looking at age 65. I mean,
four.
knockouts for 65 kind of, or 4, whatever they are, kind
Knockouts
of thing.
and were they knockouts when they were in junior high?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. And then they're still they were in eighth grade. They were good looking. Okay,
Yeah,
and then they were the 2 best looking girls in the building on Saturday
yeah.
by
Um,
far.
it's funny how sometimes when you go to those reunions, you get the swan. You get the swan. And wait, that's I don't. You didn't look like that back in the day. You know what I mean? And sometimes it goes the other way. But Facebook has ruined it for reunions. Social media has ruined it for reunions because there was mystery around reunions. What do they look like? What's their story? How many kids do they have? What are they doing for a living? You didn't know anything about them. You might have known what city they lived in because somebody told you. Now you go to social media, you don't need to have a reunion, really.
You'll like this, Ronnie. You ready for this? One of the guys wore his uniform from eighth grade.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
you'll know mine didn't fit anymore.
That's
Okay, you clearly know that, but he had the whole get up with the shirt, the little emblem on the thing, and the pants.
that's
He went the route. Of course, I don't have mine, but if I did, it wouldn't have fit. But his still fit him like it did in eighth grade. How about that?
that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty funny too. That's well done. Um, all right, so you didn't get a chance to watch it as much live. Two things. One, I know there was a lot of talk about there not being a sold out crowd, a packed crowd, as far as butts in the seats and everything like that. It was so freaking hot. It was so freaking hot. It was the temperature on red anywhere from 91 to 94, but the humidity made the heat index feel like it was 100. And I don't blame anyone for not wanting to go sit in the stands for 3 hours, but then have to be out there for however many, at least a couple hours before that, walking around, waiting to get in, being for 5 hours at least, at minimum. Forget all the tailgate for 100-degree weather. No, and to pay to do it, no. I'm sorry. We got too many options. The broadcasts are too good. We're too spoiled as human beings now. We don't live in the bush, and without air, without air conditioning. It was rough. And oh, by the way, to go fight it for a non-conference game where Tigers were a 24-point favorite, where UCLA got destroyed at home against Indiana the week before. I don't blame people for not necessarily going or for going and going, especially if you sit on the east side and saying this is just ridiculous and leaving early.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. What you said. I don't care if you paid your money, and maybe that was the only game you were going to go to this year. I talked to people who were there. It was brutally hot. By the way, Ryan, I had a great time at the Edge Lounge Friday night. I thought I was going to stay about an hour. Stayed about 3 hours. Great music, packed. That place was packed when I left. But I ran into some people there who were going to the LSU game, and they were having a good time. I'm like, you might regret that sitting in the stadium tomorrow. that person texted me Saturday and says the hottest ever, and they've been going to LSU football games for a long time. She said she didn't remember it being that hot. So I get it. I understand why the people couldn't sit on the east side. I mean that's the prime sun hit the east side time, 2:30. Maybe by 5 o'clock it was a little more bearable, but people were gone. Okay. So that's one of the hazards of the occupation. If LSU's gonna play at 11 or 2:30 or 3, whatever, that's to be expected. And Ronnie, you say a 24-point favorite against UCLA. I don't know if that'd have been the Alabama game or Florida game if they would have still hung in there. I mean if they at one point I read there were 70 people that went for like emergency help, like for because they were overheated. Maybe not to the hospital, but look for somebody at first aid or whatever. It was just bad. I wasn't there, but everybody that was there knows. And of course, the people on the west side were in the shade, so they hung out.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, Alabama, Florida, big SEC game. The people would have hung out better. Plus, you'd have had a larger road contingent. And they would have obviously tried to hang in there to get their money's worth. But still, LSU did allow folks to bring water in up to 32 ounces. You had the top on your bottle. They were going to let you bring your water in, and
And they
obviously
ran out of water, so
they did.
they started serving hot, giving out hot water. They just didn't have enough. I mean, that's not good by LSU to not have enough for a 2:30 game when it's
But not having enough cool water. You're saying they had cases of water, they just didn't have it all cold. Like I don't
they
get.
ran out of the cold. They ran out of the cold and had to go to the hot. And I mean that's on LSU. I
Yeah,
mean,
better.
no, especially because you've known for how many weeks that this was the game time. It's
By,
not like they changed it Friday night.
by the way, two things. I saw Casey McKenzie posted something about it was hotter than at a Rougarou game. There's never been a Rougarou game where it was that hot. Okay,
No, well, and the grandstand's covered at the Rougarou game,
and,
even when the sun sets.
and they don't start till 7 o'clock at night.
Yes,
The sun's setting in the west, and then by the way, by 8 o'clock, 8:15, it's going. But anyway, the LSU. By the way, Harold Perkins out for the year, injured his ACL, and that is just so terrible for LSU, terrible for that young man, regardless of all the conversation about Harold Perkins, where he should be playing and how they should be playing him and put him on the end and let him play like he was as a freshman. Now, obviously, all that's done, and the question becomes, does Harold Perkins try to stick around and come back next year, or does he take whatever he can get and go pro? I don't know. That'll be something that we'll talk about in the spring. But bad news for LSU. People seem to have this expectation of this LSU defense, and I don't know where it comes from. All right, LSU last year was one of the worst defenses in the history of the program. It was a 120th ranked or whatever defense in the country. They didn't get any defensive linemen. They got like one or two DBs. Like this, where does the expectation come that they got a defensive coordinator change, but where's the expectation come that this defense is going to be so much better? Hey, if they go from 120 to 70, that's pretty good, right? That's a 50 team improvement. If they go to, so like they're not going to win because of the defense. The defense is going to break your heart from time to time. The defense is going to be bend but not break. The defense is going to look good occasionally and look terrible occasionally. It's up to the offense. LSU is not going to win by big spreads. They're not going to shut out opponents. They're going to do like they did against Nichols and like they did against UCLA in the first half. But then they're going to figure it out and then shut them down, for a little stretch. Fans just need to chill out. They're not going to win any games this year because of the defense. They're going to win because the defense does just good enough and the offense keeps the hammer down and wins 34-27. And that's what LSU did in this game. They looked bad on defense in the first half, looked good in the second half because I think UCLA also got worn down in that sun on the road, etc.
Well, and I think you make a good point. Where do the expectations come from? Blake Baker had success at Missouri. He coached at LSU before. Everybody thought that was going to, be the magic wand. Well, it's still all about the players on the field. I mean, you could have, Bill Belichick coaching the defense, but if you don't have the players, it's going to be what we saw. Where, and through 3 games, they weren't statistically better than last year's defense. Let that sink in for a minute. I don't know how that matches up after game 4, but it's still about the players on the field. Losing Harold Perkins after losing Guillory is really a blow to the defense. Guillory probably more so because you had less depth on the defensive line. But now you're going to have to turn to some true freshmen at linebacker. South Alabama, scored 84 points against Northwestern State, who got shut out again bad this week. But they're a decent team. They're probably better than Nichols. So 20, yeah, they are because they're a 20-point dog. Nichols was a 48-point dog.
Yeah, they're a Sunbelt. So, they had an impressive win on the road, putting 48 on the board against Appalachian State on the road. But they did lose. It's kind of like, obviously, LSU's catching them when they're feeling themselves, right? They're feeling their oats. They've put up 140 points in the last two games, whereas the first two games they were 0-2. I mean, they lost to Ohio and they lost to, I forget who else they played. North Texas put 50-something on them and beat them. So South Alabama looked terrible the first two games. They hang 87 or whatever against Northwestern State. Then they go on the road and put 40-something on the road at Appalachian State. So, there's the expectation that they're going to come in and they're going to score 3 touchdowns. They're probably, you know what I mean? And so the 20.5 number, if you're a gambler, is going to be an interesting sweat because that's about right.
Well, and you said it earlier, you kind of glazed through it, but LSU has not covered through 4 games. They have not covered the spread through 4 games, LSU. So, and I had the Tigers the other day, so I lost that one, but I thought they'd finally cover. I really did. It didn't get done.
All right, talking about the New Orleans Saints on Sunday in the Dome. The Dome was rocking. I credit the Philadelphia Eagle fans. They brought a shit ton of people. It was like the Saints in Dallas. I mean, the Saints brought a shit ton of people to Dallas, and they were super loud. And of course, they seemed even louder and seemed like more people because Dallas didn't have as much to cheer about. Whereas the Eagles and Saints was a back and forth affair. A couple of things. One, when Ruiz left the game with the injury at center, that was gigantic. Missing him in the middle. The other thing was huge. And then no Taysom Hill, I thought, affected the creativity of the play calling. And they didn't have that lead blocker when they needed him. They didn't have that thumper back. Remember they ran an empty backfield wildcat with Kamara, no lead blocker to try to get a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or whatever. And they moved Carr in motion. And that should have been Taysom Hill with his 240 pounds running downhill, taking that snap. And, so not having Taysom Hill clearly as a blocker and as a lead affected a little bit of that play calling. But not having the center in the blocking affected a lot of things in the middle. And of course, number 70, the Iowa State offensive line.
Fanning.
He gave his once a game personal foul. Saints overcame it, got a touchdown on that drive. That was the second to last drive, but still like stupid penalty. He's good for that once a game. But Derek Carr to me looked like not only did he miss Hill and Ruiz, but it felt like once he got pressure early and got hit a couple times, his clock was sped up. He wasn't wanting to hang in there. He looked panicky. He looked like the old Derek Carr at times. Once they got to him early in that game, it really rattled him. The other thing was I thank you to the Philadelphia Eagles coaching staff for going for it on 4th down. Go and they should have punted. I mean, thank you for all of those stupid decisions. But I did not like at the time, and this isn't Monday morning Sports Shorts Daily quarterback, and I said it in the Dome when it was happening. You're up 3-0 in the third quarter, take the field goal. They had a 4th and 2. They went for it, didn't get it. Take the field goal, go up 6-0. Okay. That was either third quarter or late 4th. I can't remember which. And I think it was third. Because, Tommy, my thought process on it in that game, when you have the lead, is make the Eagles, who were self-destructing, they were moving the ball between the 20s all day long, but they Saints with the honey badger with a pick, a couple of strips, they were bend but not breaking on defense. And they were setting up 4th down decisions. Make the Eagles go 70, 80 yards to score a touchdown, to take the lead. And then all you have to do is get a field goal to take it back, right? It puts less pressure on your offense, which was struggling. Only had just over 200 yards of offense. And instead, you miss the 4th and 2. And then now when they go get the touchdown, now you have to get a touchdown. I just don't make the game harder than it needs to be. You weren't trailing. It wasn't early in a game where you thought, oh, this is going to be a shootout. No, this was a defensive struggle for both teams, that both defenses are playing well. Just help your offense and make it easy. Kick the field goal, go up 6-0, and make them go 80, 70, 80 yards.
I agree with you. And it was really a weird game statistically. Number one, teams combined for 27 points. Saints won a turnover battle by 2 and blocked a punt and lost the game. But the Eagles whipped them on the line of scrimmage, especially after McCoy went out. They had to move the left guard to center and bring in somebody off the bench at left guard. And, so you got to credit the Eagles defense. I mean, there was a lot of bad play calling by the Saints, but the Eagles defense had a lot to do with that. When the play doesn't work, it's a bad call. When it works, it's a good call. But, so it was one of them weird statistical games. But Saints had a chance. You had the 2 defensive backs run into each other. The tight end, goes almost to the end zone, and you lose the game. And then Carr should have never threw the ball. He threw at the end, when all you really need is a field goal to force overtime. Man, there's a lot of Monday morning Sports Shorts Daily. Why did this happen? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? It's easy to coach Monday morning, a lot easier than during the game. But both coaches, left some decisions clearly, to be questioned, in that game, in particular in the second half. You're right. It wasn't a shootout. Teams combined for 27. That's rare in the NFL that teams combined for only 27, although scoring is down for the first time in many decades overall league-wide. But, hey, the Saints, you kind of, as bad as it was, the Saints kind of let it get away. Because you play defense at the end, you don't have the 2 defensive backs run into each other and leave the tight end wide open. Maybe you walk out of there with a win. But, hey, you got to turn the page because the Falcons, they're going to be ready for the Saints. We all know that story come Sunday.
The first off, Jalen Carter, the right defensive end, 28 out of Georgia, who is all college. That dude is a problem. Number 98 for the Eagles, Jalen Carter, the former Bulldog, was the best player on the football field yesterday by far. I mean, he moved the line of scrimmage all day long. He disrupted everything. He made every big why they ever ran his way is beyond me. Like, Jalen Carter is a man. He is going to be a superstar for a decade if he stays healthy. To me, he was the difference in that game. They had no answer for him. But I just go back to even Brian Kelly, right? 2 years in a row, he goes forward on 4th down. They get no points in the opening drive of the season. I am a fan of just keep tacking on. Just keep tacking on. When you have the opportunity, get points. Get points. How many times do we talk about, they were in the red zone twice and got nothing? Like, get points. Not only does it get you further in the lead or get you back in a game or get you closer or whatever the case may be, it rewards your offense. You're feeling good about yourself, and you flip the field, and you're making the opponent go 70, 80 yards. You're helping your defense. I mean, I just don't I don't understand this desire to go for it when the numbers don't bear out. They don't bear out. The Saints are not – most teams are not good enough to go for it on 4th down all the time unless you're in college and we're talking about 4th and 1 decisions where you got a running quarterback and a better offensive line than they do defensive line. But in the NFL, take the automatic 3 and flip the field.
Well, some of these coaches get caught up in this. We got to get a touchdown, not a field goal thing. Okay. Well, the Steelers kicked 7 field goals in a game a couple of weeks ago and won the game 21 to something. So, I'm like you. You got to get points when you can get them, especially early on. You start playing, the old sheet all the coaches have about when you go for 2 and when you kick a field goal. That comes in the 4th quarter. Get points, get points, get points. Because you just don't know how the rest of the game's going to go. You might think you know, but you don't really know. So I wish a lot of coaches would get off of that. Oh, we got to get a touchdown, not a field goal. If you trade field goals for touchdowns, you lose. I get that. But you got to have a defense. You got to play. And the new buzzword, the narrative this year is complementary football. You got to play offense, defense, and special teams. So get them field goals, like you said, go up 6-0, and hope that your defense can keep them out of the end zone. I mean, it's Monday morning, but it's also made sense yesterday morning.
I'll tell you what, this is a game. This is a game that if you're the Saints, you're shaking your head, you're kicking yourself because you should have won it, even though you weren't the best football field yesterday, best football team. Eagles deserved to win, and they wound up winning it. They were the better team. They moved the line of scrimmage more consistently. They moved the ball up and down the field, more consistently. They made the plays in the fourth quarter, the 2 touchdowns when they needed to. But the Saints could have won the game. Not that they should have. They could have won the game. There was a lot of ways they could have won this game. And then at the very end, when Derek Carr throws the interception, we're still getting used to life without Drew Brees, who, by the way, was in the building with Gleason yesterday. You were still getting used to him because the thing about Drew was so 95% of the time he made the right decision. He may not have always physically gotten it done, but he made the right decision. If you're Derek Carr in that moment on second down with 40-something seconds, 50-something seconds, a timeout, just throw it away. You drop back the pass, you're looking, nothing's there, pocket breaks down, throw it away, and live to play another 2 plays. Instead, he throws the ball up for grabs, falling backwards in the middle of the field. Like, what are you doing?
Well, the oldest saying as a quarterback is never throw it late in the middle. I mean, I've known about that for 50 years. Don't throw it late into the middle of the field.
Years in the NFL. And in that moment, he's got to have that clock, right? Go back 3-4 seconds, throw it away. Just throw it away. And look, we're good. We're fine. We got 2 more plays. We got a timeout. We're near midfield. Like, everything's in front of us.
Well, and then you got to have that awareness, just like Fanning's got to know that play was ahead of him, and he blocked the guy well past the white belt of the sideline. That's a mental mistake. Carr made a mental mistake, and they overcame the penalty on Fanning. I get it, but I mean, Carr's got to be better than that. If the Saints are going to win the division or be in the playoffs, you can't make that decision even in week 3. We know it's a long year, all that good stuff, but he's got to be better than that. I mean, you expect a rookie to do that, but not a Derek Carr.
Yeah, and the defense has got to be better too. My God, allow a touchdown when they have the ball with a minute to go, and got to get a touchdown at home. This would be such a good game to win. We go, the Saints offense only had 200 yards of offense, but the Saints held them to single digits, and the defense rose up. I mean, what a complimentary team! And this is the 3-0, and this is the real Saints. I mean, you can win by scoring 45, and you can win by shutting with your defense. Like, they can do it all. We'd be talking like that if it wasn't for the freaking defense allowing a 70-yard drive. When that's what they have to have as a touchdown.
And if they're going to Goddard all day, he's at a personal record. I mean,
175 yards.
Yeah, I mean, why weren't you have double it up? And I know they ran into each other, but that can't happen. That's not how you win NFL football games.
Yeah, I mean, they ran a crossing route, and the Eagles receiver, did his job. He ran the freaking defenders into each other. By the way, the Honey Badger, we always remember the plays, right? The fumble recovery, the interception he made in the end zone, which is fantastic. But that dude gets toasted a lot.
Well, they go after him. That's why they went after Goddard, because he's the main guy to cover him. Missed the tackle, and Goddard got, 50 yards after the catch when he went over the top of him. I mean, Matthew can't run like he once did, and other teams attack him.
Yeah, he can't tackle either. Yeah,
the Falcons are going to go after him come Sunday in Atlanta.
All right, TK, tell us about Court Street Cafe.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, right over the Mississippi River Bridge. Plenty of parking here. Got a nice patio out front. Need to check them out. Full service bar, Saturday night steak night, the famous brunch on Sundays. But follow them on Facebook and Instagram. You'll know all about the lunch specials, red beans and rice today. Dinner specials. They got weekly specials. They got drink specials, all that good stuff at Court Street Cafe, 805 Court Street in Port Allen. Jason and the staff do a super job here. Stop by, get you breakfast, lunch, dinner. Hey, I'm telling you, if you work in downtown Baton Rouge, you work on the LSU campus, it's not hard at all to jump over here. Maybe a lot easier than going other places if you head over to the middle of Baton Rouge or South Baton Rouge. So Court Street Cafe, it's our home on Mondays for Sports Shorts Daily, and we hope you'll patronize them folks soon. Hey, on Wednesday we'll be out at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood for another episode of Sports Shorts Daily. Don't forget to like and share this show. Please do that, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or X. Like and share this show. Tell everybody about it. We always have lots of fun. And we're back Wednesday, 9 a.m. for another episode. On behalf of Ronnie Rance, Jason, and the staff here at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, I'm Tommy Chrysan. Have a great day, everyone.